There we go.
There we go.
Everyone's just waiting for the show to kick off. Which doesn't need to go? There we go. Got it.
It was like we couldn't find a word to say it to each other until it was recorded. It's like when people, film themselves, take pictures of stuff rather than just absorbing the moment. It's just like we cannot have a communication without the recording starting.
The thing is, we don't want to waste all the good convo. We want to save it for everyone, don't we?
True. Now the pressure's on. It was. I got nothing to say anyway.
I'm on video, I remember. Like, I got to remember that every time I'm just, picking my nose and just going for it.
Hopefully you're happy with that face you just pulled. It's horrendous.
The lizard laugh, like...
If you're listening to this is definitely going to be a tune-in episode for YouTube because Durbo has just pulled some horrendous faces that we're going to freeze screen and use them for the socials.
I'm so swollen post Tour of Switzerland. Like, this is just not my best self, Let me bust.
All right, boys, let's get into this. This is the Race Communique. Welcome, everyone. Our episode number 6. We're here pre-Tour de France. This is live from the Peloton production, made possible by our major partner, MAAP. But, of course, the Race Communique is exclusively being brought to you by TrainingPeaks. Whether you're an elite athlete, a cycling coach, or new to the sport, get the tools you need to reach your goals with TrainingPeaks. That's what we're doing, boys. They've created the world's most powerful athlete and coaching software to help you streamline your planning, analyze your data, and track your progress. Use TrainingPeaks to accelerate your performance goals. Durbs, welcome back to the Race Communique, and Tom Southam, EF Education First Sport Director. Durbo, our flying pro at Jaco Alula. Boys, welcome back. Good to have you on board.
Thanks, fellas. Nice to be back after the flying mullet tried to steal my seat in the last one.
It was close. Like, me and Mitch had to have a really long meeting about should we continue with Shane versus you.
I can imagine.
It's good.
I can imagine.
That's why you look sharp, Tom. And
you look so different, Southam.
It's because I shaved. I very, very rarely shave, but my beard's decided to turn white these days, and I'm trying to get rid of it more often. It's showing my age, so trying to stay.
I've got that going on the sides here. Got to keep it real tight, It's like this real grey thing going on, but no, it's onwards.
Get out of here. You Southam, you look weird actually when you're not used to it.
Appreciate
but that's the comment I get.
The guy's got a fucking broom on his lip.
But I get the comment when I shave them off. They're like, "Oh, you look weird. Grow it back." But you're like, "Well, I've only had it for actually,
it's a while now, mate.
10 years now, yeah.
2016
was the first edition. So, boys, we're going straight into it this week because Durbo with PeloChat, I want to do something different this week because I want to talk about TrainingPeaks, but in a bit of a different way. I thought, well, Durbo, you actually said it to me, we could do some analysing the TrainingPeaks race report, potentially, because you've just come straight out of Tour de Suisse, and look, it's going to be a nice little segue into recapping the races with my segment, your segment being the PeloChat, and Southam obviously talking, well, not obviously, but talking tactics with Tom Southam, the mastermind, who is doing the steering wheel, talking down the radio in the cars. But Durbo, you wanted to get into Tour de Suisse, which you're freshly off, but you wanted to talk about your files, the data, what you got recorded on your TrainingPeaks, mate. Should I handball it over to you?
Yep, you got to let me do my intro. Hi, it's Luke. It's PeloChat.
That's really come on, mate. You really nailed it.
I've been working on it quite a bit. PeloChat. Here we go.
Try just intro it. No, now without being silly.
Okay, sorry. Yep. Hi, it's Luke Durbridge, and it's PeloChat now. Anyway,
the thing is, that's actually you doing it.
I come up with the idea of just like, when you're suffering at Tour de Suisse, and I thought, every single day was brutal. Break took over an hour to go every day. And everyone you're talking to, like, oh man, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard. Like every rider, like doesn't matter from GC to sprinter to breakaway specialist, whatever. Everyone was just like, oh, I hope today's not as bad as yesterday. And then pretty much the day was as bad, if not worse, than the day before. And anyway, I just thought it'd be interesting. Obviously, TrainingPeaks being our major sponsor. So I thought it'd be good to just be like, okay, let's go into my TrainingPeaks. Let's share some comparisons to Dauphiné, to Tour de Suisse. These races are the two major prep races for Tour de France. Kind of like the classics where you have Torino, Adriatico, and you have Paris-Nice. These are the two big World Tour stage races that, prep you for the classics. And then you've got Dauphiné and Tour de Suisse, which is the two races for the Tour. And historically, Swiss is one of those ones where you do Tour de Suisse and then you rest and then you do the Tour de France. There's not much. There's only a sort of 10 days in between. So guys are either push their altitude camp a little bit longer, they drop in, they do Tour de Suisse, and then pretty much everything's done. They just recover now, and then whatever it is going to be what you're going to get at the Tour. Where Dauphiné, that gives you an extra week, which some guys like to either top up, go back up to altitude. If something went slightly wrong in Dauphiné, they can potentially work on it. Maybe they're a little extra half a kilo to lose still, or there's certain things they need to work on, bit of heat training. That's where Dauphiné potentially gets a few more GC guys than Tour de Suisse does because of that extra week. It's sort of that one's like, if anything did go wrong, you have time to fix it. Where Swiss is like, if things do go wrong, you don't really have much time. All you got to do is just keep your feet up. So this year, I've done about half and half.
Do you do half the Dauphiné as well?
Yeah. I did half Dauphiné, then full Swiss. Yeah. No, you idiot. In my career,
what does that mean?
I've done about
second half of Swiss.
Second half of Swiss, first half of Dauphiné. That is a good combo.
How am I even meant to get through my segment? Anyway,
give us the data.
I'll deal with this.
Let's go.
Yeah, shut up and give us the data. I was just giving you some background. Anyway, it's for the people back home. You're the one who said, let's keep it pretty, basic. All right, let's do some numbers.
What are you saying about the people back home? You set yourself up there.
Yeah, fair.
All right, come on, let's go. Keep it basic for me.
Right.
Come on.
Okay, cool. All right, so Tour of Switzerland. Now, this is just generally my week. We did Gippingen, which is a one-day race prior to Tour of Suisse. It goes Friday, this one-day race Gippingen, rest day on the Saturday, we start Tour of Suisse. So that's a nine-day block. And for me, I did 40 hours in that 9-day block. I did 1,600 kilometers, and I did 2,736 TSS. So decent. And in that sense, I burnt 41,000 calories.
Mm-hmm.
I climbed 22,000 meters of altitude. And what else is the stat? Yeah, and that's my stat for the 9-day block. So to be honest, probably the most work I've done all year, hands down.
It was a bit of a quick, before you go too much further forward, just some of those little metrics there you're talking about. TSS is especially one of them. I think kilojoules everyone understands, but TSS is...
it's training stress score. You were literally going to go into it. Training stress score. So that's an algorithm that TrainingPeaks has come up with, and it estimates pretty much what the effect of the race would be on you. So it's, for example, like you would get if you were to go 100, if you get 100 TSS for 1 hour, you've pretty much just gone maximum, like your absolute maximum for 1 hour, which is pretty nearly impossible to do. But so, for example, over a 4 or 5 hour stage, I might get like between a 250 to a 350 TSS. And that builds and builds and builds. And this is why I'm saying 2,736 TSS is sort of like how they calculate load on the body. the effect of the race on the body.
Give us a really far out TSS, a big day. What's a Paris-Roubaix and, a World Championship?
Paris-Roubaix would be between a 4 and a 500 TSS.
Right. And a big mountain stage is somewhere 350, 400.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So it's accumulation of those days. Yeah.
And if you were to think like a big mountain stage, it would be, we have here, I can show you some stuff here. Tour of Switzerland was, Gippingen, 370 TSS. So it's a non-World Tour one-day race, is as hard as a hard mountain stage at the Tour de France. That's just a comparison. Like, it's equivalent. Then we go in and we do only a 4-hour stage, so it's quite short, and we do 320 TSS. And then we do a mountain stage, another 360 TSS. And then a 330, a 330, a 330, a 380, and a 320. So every single day of Tour de Suisse, even though there weren't all mountain stages, were pretty much the equivalent to hard days at the Tour de France. So
what just for people to get a bit more context too, because I know people are out there have got their own TSSs, but if someone goes out there and does a TSS, but their threshold or their FTP is 200, give us some quick sort of relative.
It's all relative. So for example, if you have a really low threshold, my threshold's 430 watts, and then. But for example, if your threshold, Mitch, is 180, which is probably about correct, at the moment.
Actually, I've got just a quick side note here. Yesterday, I did testing with Dr. Andre Lagersh, VO2 max testing, because I frothed that stuff. 10% drop off from 3 years ago when I did it, peaked out at 450. That's all I could get to. Last time I did it 4 years ago, 500, 50 watt drop off. And I was like keeled over on the bike. It was depressing.
In 3 years.
In 3 years, 10% drop off. Yeah.
So, just estimating your life expectancy.
I know. That's the scary part about it. I was like, he was like, "Oh, that's actually pretty good."
Serious.
Like,
I didn't know what you were going to say then.
All right, I'll back to you.
All right. So what I thought would be interesting was we do a little comparison between Dauphiné and Swiss. Now, pretty similar races, but I would say most people would think Dauphiné would be harder, just because it's in France, roads are smaller, probably more people do it leading into the tour. But in comparison, 2023 Dauphiné, I did 35 hours. I did 1,300 kilometers, and I did 2,120 TSS. So I go on to Tour de Suisse this year without Gippingen, without the stage race. I do 6 hours longer, so I did 36 hours. I do a couple of K more, so it's only 50 kilometers more, and then 2,500 TSS. So we're talking 400 TSS more than the Dauphiné, with way more calories. We're going 33,000 calories to 38,000 calories. So a lot more work to be done. Less climbing meters, which is also means the overall race is harder, because when you go uphill, you push more watts. That's common knowledge, which means you would burn more calories. So at Tour de Switzerland, we've done nearly 3,000 meters less altitude than Dauphiné, but I've burnt nearly 5,000 more calories. So just the general speed of the bunch and the pressure on the pedals was just a lot higher at Tour de Switzerland this year than it was in Dauphiné. But this is only year-to-year comparison. It's not every year is the same. But it's just like an interesting fact for people to know that, like, this is the sort of workload. Dauphiné and Swiss is the equivalent of doing the first 10 days of the Tour de France. I don't think Tour de France gets any harder. It's just the same, but for longer,
I'll take it one step further, and I was able to pull up my data from the 2019 Tour de Suisse. So just to understand where the peloton's gone. We did 35 hours that week. and TSS only 1,833.
Wow.
Kilojoules 28,000. Sorry. Wow. So it's substantially less. The speed average. What was your average speed, Durbo? We did average of 40.9. I noticed
we had a 44.
Yeah, so you can see like it's just much faster. It's much more intense racing. And you can see that like 2019 was really sort of before the bubble burst, wasn't it? You think about
that pre-COVID race, yeah.
It was very
pre-COVID. So it's really good comparison there.
There's a really interesting thing that pops up on I can't remember the name of it, but it's on like social media, which is constantly comparing 2018 to 2025, and it has like every race, and they take like the average power, heart rate, and whatever data they can find. And I mean everything is trending up, dramatically, like 3-4k an hour faster, kilojoules again. You can just, it's because we're also now getting enough data like year on year that and it's out there that we're starting to see these patterns. It might have always been like this, but it's only now that we're starting to go, oh wow, and we're getting a big enough sample pool to know kind of what's going on. It's not getting any easier.
No. I mean, and the last little thing I thought I'd share was going into the tour. We'll obviously touch on that with preview and et cetera, but these breakaways now with Pogačar, if you stay in the bunch, Van der Poel or Pogačar is probably going to win. So these breakaways is pretty much most of the team's chances of winning a stage at the Tour de France. So forming of these breakaways are, which we have touched on in episodes before with Tom, how difficult that is. But for an example, we had it's kind of a ridiculous day. We had first 2 hours of the stage to form this breakaway on stage 4. And it was average speed of 54.5 kilometers an hour. So it was just, we come off this mountain pass to start, neutral, and then we hit these flat lands, and it wasn't necessarily flat. I think we still covered close to 1,800 meters of climbing during this period. And we were just, I stayed in my 55.11 for the entire time. And we were just tucked into the wheels, and it was just berserk. Everyone just couldn't believe it. Like, guys were getting ridden down the wheel. It was single file, and 54 k's an hour. And eventually the break formed. And that just goes to show, like, when you do turn on the television and the break is formed, it really depends on how you get into these breakaways. Like, for example, if you're a guy who's committed for those 2 hours and eventually the cord snaps and you get into these breakaways, and then you turn on the TV and you might see a non-climber out-climb a climber. You get to the bottom of the first category 1 climb or the first cap 2 or something like that, and then all of a sudden you see, I don't know, Jonas Rouge, for example, ride Nielsen Palace out of the wheel. You go, well, how does that work? But because potentially Nielsen might have gone for 2 hours to make sure he got into this breakaway, where Jonas might have, stayed in the wheels for the whole time, and then eventually he just went with 1 or 2 moves. He got into the breakaway and he was fresh. So it's really important that obviously nowadays with the Tour de France, you can watch the whole stage, so you can actually see kind of what's happening. But like when you turn on the TV in Tour of Switzerland, you would be like, 50k to go, and you'd be like, oh, well, what happened there? Like, how is that climber getting dropped, or how's this person got there? It was just that the workload that I'd done prior. I mean, a lot of these starts, I would say, in Tour de Suisse, I did all-time to yearly PBs between 5 and an hour's worth of power, just to hold in the bunch, or just to try and go on these breakaways. So,
were you actively trying, Durbs, or what was your role in that?
Yeah, I was on that day, that flat stage. I was actively trying. And obviously some of these climbs at the start, I was trying to be at least connected to the peloton. So then when we come off the flat, then I could move. And for me to stay in the bunch on one of the days that we had, I think I did 530 watts for 5 minutes. And then another day I did 440 watts for 30 minutes on the climb to make sure I was still in the peloton, to still have the ability to try and be in these breakaways. But yeah, so this is sort of the stuff we're talking day to day.
Well,
yeah. I mean, like if you look at the Tour in particular, there's a couple of days there. I think stage 12 is like 120k before we get to the first climb, and we go across that highway not highway, but it's that big road. We've done it quite a few times, from like Tarbes down in the Pyrenees. It goes towards Tourmalet and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Super fast bit of road. And we got to do 120k before we get to a climb. So it's going to be, it's going to be unbelievable.
The only way to really make it work is when the course is narrow and you can block the road, and this is sort of things. But when it's on a big highway like that, it's impossible.
Yeah, righto. You've done enough now. We've heard enough of your moaning about Tour de Suisse. Let's get into it, because you were the one in stage 1 putting the pressure on at 70k to go. You're the one splitting the bunch. What are you talking about? You were on the front, stage 1, splitting the Pelo Durbo. You're the one causing all this stress. Tour de Suisse, mate. It was early stages, saw the unexpected leaders like Romain Gregoire. He took the first stage. He held onto the jersey. And then, look, stage 5 was a turning point when we saw Kevin Vauquelin take the jersey, Oscar Onley take his first World Tour win, winning that final climb up to Kari. And then Kevin Vauquelin, he was, for me, like the real standout, because it was just like, can't he? I didn't expect he was going to be able to do this. He held it right to the last mountain stage, stage 8, where Joao Almeida, he clawed back the time that he needed to win overall. Durbo, you were there, aside from the data and the hardness and you splitting the bunch on the front, making it hard. Can you give us an insight to that battle and Vauquelin, like yourself, what you thought of him?
Oh, he's always been pretty impressive time trialist, but I guess to see him climb the way he climbed was really impressive. The Tour de Suisse this year, I will say, didn't have any traditional big alpine passes. We had maybe one. So you'd be interested. I'm not sure for like a GC Tour de France situation if that's going to be a possibility for him, because it was quite punchy, this Tour de Suisse. You know, it was very 3-4K climbs, 6K climbs maximum. But it was very interesting. Like the first stage, obviously we got up the road and with a couple of these guys, and it was awesome. It was, people were back in the bunch and we didn't know. They didn't know the break had gone. And then
that's a rare day, that one. That's a rare day when you, like these days, to get a split like that without most of the guys losing 3 minutes with a big break. You don't see it much anymore. Everyone's so paranoid about it happening, you know, and teams were pulling behind. So, yeah.
It was one of those ones we had a really, really hard start, like 15 minutes, super hard up a climb, and we came down onto a valley floor. And then it was so out of control and there was guys just going 1s and 2s and 1s and 2s. And we already had one in the breakaway. And I sort of said to Ben, I'm like, I don't know, like, what do we do? All the GC guys are looking at each other, and Ben just started yelling at me, go, go, go. So I went across, and then Mauro Smith was in the peloton. He's like, no one's reacting. You just want to say it real quiet. He's like, maybe just push it a little bit. Like, no one's actually doing anything, because they didn't get the numbers that Ben was actually there. And then once we got there was 20 guys, and Ben just like, let's go. And we had another teammate there, and we just went, and it was super fast from there around the lake. And we ended up holding the peloton off, but like I think we gave Ben a 2.5 minute or 3 minute advantage at the top of the climb. But it was a really cool day. It was a really, really cool day. Like, not often they go that way, and not often you get to be part of a day where you can really put the peloton under pressure. And it was really, yeah, exactly.
Well, the GC ended up being Joao Almeida, Kevin Vauquelin from forgotten his team quickly. IKEA, sorry, I was going to say B&B. IKEA,
wow,
and then
wrote those guys off just because they're outside the relegation zone, which can't even remember their name anymore. So,
well, Oscar Onley also, they're also dancing on a bit of thin ice as well, outside the relegation zone with Picnic and El Post.
Amazing ride by Armida, though. Like, he's had a year, hasn't he? This is his third World Tour 1 week stage race he's won this year. Like, the third. He's won Basque. Now he's won Tour de Suisse as well. And did he win Romandy? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Did you catch any of his post-race interviews?
No, I missed it.
He is like, he's got it down pat. He knows, not necessarily in a good way. He knows what he wants to do. He gets in there. He's got like 3-word answers and he's just cool with it. Like, it doesn't get awkward. The interviewer's just like, you're not going to just give me that, are you? And just sits there and just looks him down. I'm like, he's just like, deal with it. He's just like, so what did you think? You know, how was the race today? And, you know, you got to be happy with that. Yeah, I'm really happy with how it all went.
End of.
End of. And they're like, so how about to the Tour de France? Are you going to be happy working in the support of, you know, Tadej Pogacar, or are you going to go for yourself? No, I'm more than happy working for Tadej. That's it. Go back and watch it. It's incredible. It's really incredible. Let's quickly talk about, because we want to really preview the Tour de France here, but we can't do it without talking about almost like the mini Tour de France. Durbo, you talked about the Dauphiné, that the physical side of it, the data side of it, the race itself. But this year, it really turned it on in terms of the riders that turned up there. We had Tadej Pogacar, we had Jonas Vingegaard, we had also Remco Evenepoel. Like, these are the 3 riders that we've been wanting to see battle, and they were there battling. And look, the standouts for me were that, you know, Tadej he showed his superiority towards at the end of the race, but after the TT, there was a question. Whoa, okay, how's he going to get this back? You know, stage 4, he loses 48 seconds to Evenepoel, slips to 8th on GC. It was a little bit uncharacteristic. I know he's not known specifically for his time trialing, but there was a bit of a question in my mind anyway around, okay, how's he going to chip away at this? How's he going to come back? Well, stage 6, he just waited for a sprint stage. Stage 6 comes to the foot, and, you know, Jonas is sending his men up the road, and, you know, he's got Sepp Kuss going up. There's like, oh, what's going to happen here? Pogacar, he just goes, all right, let's go for it. The bottom of the last climb, 7K to go, rides Jonas out of the wheel, takes 43 seconds back, and that's it. He takes the jersey from there. Stage 7, he was pretty critical about Visma Lisa bike on stage 7. Visma attack on the Croix de Fer and try and rail the descent, and Pogacar sort of isolate him. He only had Sivakov in the valley to pull. Pog, they've seen this footage too. He goes back, gets bottles from the car, rides them all the way to the front, gives bottles to Sivakov. He said after the stage, they attacked towards the top of the Croix de Fer, and then I think they wanted to drop me on the downhill. They went a little bit dangerous in the first couple of kilometres on the down, and I didn't like that. But that is modern cycling. Look, he really laid it down, again winning that stage. In stage 8, Remco started the attacking, and in the end, Vingegaard went over the top of Pog, but Pogacar sort of let Vingegaard get second. And when Vingegaard was asked about the finish, he said for sure, when Pog was asked about the finish, he said, yeah, for sure, today Jonas was really strong, but also I didn't want to go too deep. This is when he got the gap, on stage 7. It was super hot, and it was a long, long climb. So lucky enough for me, I had enough time to ease up the last few kilometers and recover. So, like, really, all the games are starting. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that stage 7. He rode Vingegaard out of the wheel, and then in the last kilometer, Vingegaard going like full gas to the line. Pog sits right up and loses like almost the gap, almost came back together. Vingegaard, I hope this race can help me get better. And hopefully I can be even better than the Tour than I am now. Guys, lots to take out of that race. There was lots to take out of Swiss too. Quickly, just your comments on the favourites, the battles, the guys coming into the Tour, these guys in the pre-races. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think Pog just seems to be on another level this year. And I don't know. I mean, you think about how much he's won and how far ahead he seemed to be. it seemed pretty one-sided from what I was seeing at Dauphiné. So I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see an interesting battle at the Tour as to how Visma come back at that, and I've got some ideas what I'm going to do that I'm going to discuss in my section coming up. So yeah, I think interesting playbook going to happen.
It's hard to see. I think it's tricky because, for example, now Pog wins everything. He's in the media all the time. I'm not sure people are loving Pog as much as they potentially were last year. I mean, like, I don't know if I'd like. You got to be like. I mean, people love people at the top to fail. Does that make sense? Like, once you're at the top, people love to see them be beaten. You know, and I think a lot more people.
Do you think that's happening now? I don't know. You reckon?
Well, I would say that now, for example, Jonas has a little bit more of a public following that people respect, that he's just going hard every day and he's like going for it, and people kind of want Jonas to be better, to be at Poggy's level, because then everyone sees a better battle. You know what I mean? Like, it's at the moment, like when Poggy rode easy to the finish, I don't know if that was necessary. I know it's a game, but it was like it was pretty bad.
I love it. I like the two hands off the bars and just taking a drink. Do you remember last year on the climb? Like in the big Visma attack. I thought it was so cool. I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I like it.
I thought it was cool too, because like even like when they try to attack him on the downhill, you know, on stage 7, then, you know, when he went to the line, he's like, cool, I don't even need to do that sort of stuff. And then stage 8, he's like, cool, you want to get second, that's fine, I'll just roll in, you know, third. That's fine. There was no sprint for it, and Jonas was looking for the sprint. It does remind me very much of the old Armstrong Ulrich sort of battles back in the day. And that sort of psychology in it, as well as, you know, the physical pretending to be stronger than you really are, or, you know, showing your strength. It's quite an interesting battle. My question is, though, was Jonas bluffing, right? Is this the right word? Not bluffing, but like, is he still coming up? Because you got to remember, he's still coming back from not the most perfect prep. Crash in Paris-Nice, coming up. This race going to put him into the prime position. Like, ideally, like I hope that does happen, because if Pog just rides away like he did here, you know, we're going to be in for this race, you know, for second at the Giro last year that we saw. So you want Jonas to be going up a step, and, you know, Poggy maybe staying where he was.
It's going to be pretty interesting. I still don't understand how Remco can still pump them all in the TT. Like, he's obviously not at the same level when it comes to climbing and watts and stuff like that, because he obviously gets dropped on the big mountain passes. But as soon as he put him on a time trial bike, like, Poggy does it so easily. He drops them all so easily, watts-wise, and he pretty much does that to everyone all year round. But then as soon as you put Remco on a TT bike, it's just like...
Yeah, but you should know that. It's slippery. Like, you should know the whole aerodynamics.
Poggy has, like, so much money behind him. He has so much aerodynamics behind him. There is no question that the same work that Remco does and Poggy does, there shouldn't be a comparison. It's not like, UAE don't care about time trials. No way. They have an amazing aero package.
Hasn't it got to do just also with the way you fit on the TT bike? Like, you're so little, and, you know, like, he's like,
no, but they're both not big. Poggy's not big. Like, you know what I mean? He can't be like, he's not talking to Ghana versus a Remco. We're talking two small climbing light figures. And I think it's just awesome. Like, as soon as you put Remco on the TT bike, it's like, he just smokes them.
Should he ride the TT bike in the road race then?
It's crazy. Yeah, it is crazy.
Bike change.
Bring back the Spinachis, I say. Should we talk about the Tour quickly? Well, not quickly. Let's just do a run through of the Tour. We're not going to go through every stage. We're not going to have enough time, but the Tour kicks off on the 5th of July. It is not too far away. Tour kicks off on the 5th of July, 3,320K, 52,000 meters of elevation, 7 flat stages, 6 mountain stages, 6 hilly stages, and 2 time trials. One of them is an 11-kilometer uphill time trial. It's going to be interesting. And the first week is all about, I guess, and you guys can tell me a bit more about this, Southam. I'm assuming you've gone through all the stages much more detailed than I have. But the first week for me looks like a real opportunist stage, actually quite dangerous for GC. Often, they're up in the north. They're starting in Lille. The Grand Depart hasn't last in Lille since 1994. 2001 was when the Tour de France started the last time in the north of France. And we're doing a whole lap of France. We're not going outside of France. That's the first time it's happened since 2020. So there's a lot of things that are going back on. The first week, Southam, I want to talk to you about that. It looks like, and when we say the first week, the first 10 days, all in Normandy, around that area, it's going to be dangerous for GC, man. It's sprint stages, opportunist guys, punchy climbs. Thoughts about that first 10-day time?
There's an absolute ton of time there, like for GC riders, absolute ton. And I think the way it's going to be raced, it's going to be unavoidable that someone like Pog is going to be sprinting in some of these finishes, which means Jonas needs to do it, which means GC riders need to do it. Van der Poel's obviously going to be in the mix. Remco is probably the least suited to a lot of these finishes, but then he's got the TT on stage 5 where he should, in theory, take yellow. But then there's traps like all over that first 10 days. I think, honestly, it's like most of the race is going to happen there, or a lot of the race is going to happen there. A lot. I think it will be. People are going to come out of that far, far, far away from the GC already.
Stage 6 for me is a real standout in the first week. It is the stage from Bayeux to Via Normandy, and that is a stage starting in Kevin Vauquelin's hometown. So watch out for him. And it's just a lumpy, tough day. It's
Kevin Vauquelin's the new Stevie Williams, isn't he? Like Stevie's injured and Mitch has just benched him, and now it's like the Kevin Vauquelin show.
I've gone deep. There's plenty more to come out about him.
You know where he lives? Like you've got his hometown, his birthplace, his school. You've spoken to some of his friends from school just to catch up. You've gone through his old interviews.
Was I wrong about Stevie Williams? If you got on the Stevie Williams wagon, you were on a good train. I can smell them. When I can smell them, they're good.
I mean, Vauquelin's already won a tour stage. He's been second in Flèche Wallonne. I mean, he's
not an overnight success. Right. You all of a sudden call him a stinky Frenchman now too. You can smell him. Like,
Vauquelin, do we need to rewind to his stage 2 victory last year? Epic stage win in Italy into Bologna. What was the climb called there? The San Luca attack.
Yeah.
In the breakaway, just launches off the front. Epic.
That break was nuts when it went. I don't know if you guys remember, but it literally was the first, like, it just went immediately out the blocks and everyone started turning on the flat and there was a 2-meter gap and nobody could close it. And it just
Vauquelin was rode on the front of that break. And that's the only reason why it's
from day one.
Yeah.
So Stage 6 is one to look out for him. I mentioned that is starting in Kevin's hometown, which will be interesting.
Kev.
Kevy V.
Fast forward to the second week, and stage 12 is the 11K mountain TT. Guys, thoughts about this? It could be different. Another shake-up for the GC, man. It's not going to necessarily suit what we were just talking about before, Remco Evenepoel, because, he's now got to climb. So, Durbo, maybe a question for you. Is he better at when he's just doing a TT climb?
We had a Tour de France pretty similar in 2018, and the last of the 10-day block was the cobble stages. John Degenkolb won. It was a really gnarly Paris-Roubaix stage, and we had 10 days up there. It was Murder Bretagne as well, and it was really technical first 10 days, and all the GC guys were like, there was guys off GC, guys had amazing 10 days. I think we had Adam Yates in 4th place on GC. But for example, you have the week before the tour, you're sort of resting up, and then you have 10 days of just absolute carnage, which is exactly what we're going to have this year at the Tour, and with the TT and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden you have a rest day, and then you're into the mountains. And I reckon it's day one in the mountains that these climbers, no one's touched a climb longer than 5 minutes for like 2 weeks now, more than 2 weeks. And all of a sudden you have these huge, like actual big, like people have bad days. Like a lot of GC guys have bad days. And because they just haven't done the climbing. And it's just like, it's a really funny one because we had Adam on fourth on GC. We were like, perfect. We've got through this 10 days. Job done. Now it's the climbing. Now go do your thing. And then the climber goes to the first climb and has a terrible climb. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, we had this 10 days of stress. And I think that takes so much out of the climbers or GC guys mentally to get through this period that they think the Tour de France potentially is like, if they got through that period without any problems, it's over. And now it's good. But like, that's not how it works. You know, like it's funny because for them, it takes so much mental energy to get through that period because they're constantly like racing for every inch. So for a GC guy this year, it's a bit of a nightmare. So I'll put it similar to 2018.
So are you talking about the mountain TT after the rest day, or are you talking about stage 13? Because that's also a monster. Tourmalet, Aspen.
Yeah, exactly. I reckon first mountain test, not potentially the TT, still Watts, 13. But like first mountain test, yeah.
13 is an absolute brutal day. And then, to move on from there, 16 is, well, it's sort of like your hockey stick stage where you got the flat stage. There's quite a lot of, it's a Vuelta stage, actually. It's maybe a better description. Perfect stage for a sprinter, or likes of myself, fatman of the Peloton, I like to call it. Get to the bottom of the climb.
The FTP.
Pull the ripcord and head up Ventoux. And then look, stage 18 for me is a really massive day. It's
disgusting, that stage.
It's so good, this stage.
Horrible. It's so
this stage.
horrible.
It's just.
I'm really not looking forward to it. If I am going, boys, you're making me feel really nervous.
Once you go past Courchevel, it's like, whoa, that last bit of cold. Have you been down the cold? You've done the cold loads. You would have done it the other way, wouldn't you, Durbs? On the bike path, and then you descend down the bit that we go up this year past the airport.
Yeah. 2 years ago, we did Col de Loz. It's the hardest climb of my life. It's like they've done the Tourmalet, and then they just put the Motorola on top of the Tourmalet at the end.
So hard.
Well, the thing is, you've also got the two climbs before. You've got the Madeleine, and you've also got the Glendon before. Like two epic days, two epic climbs. It's 5,800 meters of climbing in 171K. This is such a big boy. The last bit of the climb, the last 6K of the climb, as you guys were saying, is 18 to 20% average. The last bit, so you're going up the bike-only summit road.
I'm out.
Servo's got these are so good. Like, but this for me, this could be the Achilles heel in Pogačar. 2020, Primoz drops him, and it looks like Pogačar was. I mean, that Roglic was going to seal the. Sorry, Primoz drops him. It looked like Pogačar had the Tour. Primoz had the Tour sewn up, but Pogačar came back in the time trial when he went up the Plunge del Belfi. And then in 2023, Vingegaard drops Pogačar as well, and he loses 6 minutes. So this is, in the last two attempts up here, this is Pogačar's one climb that he doesn't love.
Let's see. Let's see how that works. I mean, you've got those 2 days at the back end of the race that for sure that you're going to see, okay, we're going to send this guy here and do this and try that. And then it's so hard, though. The best guy's just going to do it, I think. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Insight from Tom there.
Mm.
The best guy will do it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear that on the radio.
Yeah.
Guys, the best guy is doing it right now on that stage.
Yeah.
Well, he won't be. I guess he won't be wrong, really.
No. Race radio.
Yeah.
Lastly, I want to come to we've missed heaps, but these are the stages I've seen and I really picked out is stage 21, Paris.
Can't forget Paris now.
It's stupid.
This is so good. Finally,
what are you going to do?
It's not, man. It's so stupid because why? I can get so angry about it. I'm so angry about it because why would you have everyone say there's two battles. You got your GC guys, and then in the bunch you see these sprinters that just absolutely destroy themselves to get to the finish. It's impressive. They have when we're talking about 180 FTP, some of them might actually have that. And they get through the Tour de France because they're just hard bastards. And then you get to, because they can race on the World Championships of Sprinting Champs-Elysees. And then you just give another stupid stage to Van der Poel or Van Aert or Poggy and there's this racing. It's just come on.
Steady on. What about us watching? We don't want to see you guys roll around and have champagne and all that. I want to see carnage and racing, hardcore racing.
Because every single day we provide that for you free. And then you just want one day, just one day to just roll along and just have the parade and everyone and then a big bloody lead out sprint down the Champs-Elysees, which is gnarly. And then, and then you see a sprinter win and it's that guy, man, well done. He got through the mountains and he got the stage win of his life.
Mm.
Well, before I want to hear from Tom, I should explain what you're talking about because we haven't actually said what is going on. If no one's seen the route, they don't know what the hell we're talking about. There is a 1 kilometer climb now added to the circuit on the Champs-Elysees. They're going around and it's a 6% climb. It's called the Montemarte. Montemarte
and the Olympics.
Montemarte. They had it in the Olympics, and the last time comes with about
7K
to go. So it's just a perfect launch pad. 3 times up this climb, 7K to go. It's going to change the whole last day.
So pissed.
Durbo, we've heard, is pissed. Southam, your thoughts?
I think I do feel like it's a little bit gratuitous, to be honest with you. It's is it necessary? Do I love that stage when it's procession? No, not at all. Does it have to be? No, but I think having that particular stage, the way the guys race now is just he's just going to be frazzled. It's. Yeah, I can understand there being a lot of pissed off bodies in the bunch.
Fast forward 6 years from now, when you're back here smoking a cigar, watching the tour with me in Melbourne at Siglo, that doesn't exist anymore.
I watched the parade.
Would you
think it's quite good. So when I watched the Giro, for example, they have a bit of a parade before Rome. And then it's just a chance for commentators to talk about everyone's just had a big Giro. They've filmed through and they go, this guy, this guy won a stage and this was a
You can still do that for you can still do that for 140 Ks.
Yeah, but what's wrong with the Champs-Elysees, man? What is wrong with the Champs-Elysees? It's iconic.
Yeah, we're still doing that.
I'm just annoyed because they moved parking. But, let's not worry about that.
All right, let's talk about favourites. We've already mentioned Pogačar. If he doesn't crash, really, he's set up. He's got the form. The question around Jonas Vingegaard is, is his form building? Are we going to be able to see him? And what are the satellite riders looking like? At the end of the day, UAE have got 2 more climbers coming in from the team that they ran at Dauphiné. So, Joao Almeida is coming into the mix, and
Adam Yates, of course. Simon Yates will be lining up for Visma Lease Bike. So that is another card that they can play there. Tish Benoot will be there as well. So, but then it leads me to down the line a bit, and this is a question for you, Southam.
Richard Carapaz. Had a fantastic Giro. Let's go to that moment. What happened there?
At what stage? Which stage are we talking about in particular? Anything specific?
When the Giro was lost.
Yeah, I mean,
20.
He played the game. We all know how cycling works, right? You've got to be prepared to lose to win. It was pretty clear that, in our opinion, what the play was going to have to be, that Del Toro was going to have to ride after Yates or lose the Giro, and he just never did it. Richie was pretty frustrated at the time, but that was the game he had to play, because it wasn't that Del Toro didn't have the legs to follow Richie, because he followed him when Richie put in every move. I think he was just hyper focused on Richie. I felt like UAE were almost a bit like Pogs kind of destroyed their tactics a bit, because normally they get to that point and it's like, all right, it's done now. And it was just a bit, the guy's young. He was focused on second place. But Yates did that. He did a really, really good opening TT, the first TT there. It was like 10th on the day or something like that. So he was obviously good, and he wasn't the last couple of days before that. Richie had only gained like 20 seconds or 15 seconds. It was never that much. So as we saw it, Yates and Richie were as close as each other, right? To the win. So
like different engines in terms of like Richie would get the gap because he can be punchy, but we hadn't done a climb more than sort of half an hour prior to that. And then you do this massive long, Finestre. It's just like suits Yates. He probably falls into Yates' hands probably more than Richard. But I would say there was no fault of Richard's. It was actually UAE's race that was lost. Like, I'm just interested to know that you were there.
We pushed Richie to speed. So what we did do was, when Del Toro wasn't pulling, Sivakov was 40 seconds behind, and we had Richie go fast to stop Sivakov coming back, to force Del Toro to be alone to do the work. So we doubled down on that. Like, it's like, no, you're going to have to do it or you're going to lose the race. And I think that was
I think it was actually a good play if Del Toro rode, for example, because actually you guys did a fantastic job at the bottom. You literally destroyed UAE, which the last days before UAE had like stepped it up, and Micah had just come to life and he was there to pace everyone, and Adam was there, and like they had such a strong team. But you guys went from the bottom like absolutely berserk that, to be honest, by the time UAE would get back to Del Toro, it would be too late. So that was probably the perfect tactic, and it was, because then Del Toro was isolated. But the thing is, I think at the end of the day, Del Toro just lost the race. It's crazy to think that like he's so young, and like I think at the point he was thinking, yeah, I'm just going to, be this a bit confident, but like, oh man, surely he's got to be a fair amount of regret now.
Was there any like? So I heard that there was a bit of malice between them. There was some kind of, you didn't help me stages before, so if I'm not going to win, you're not going to win. Because for me, there was a point where clearly, yeah, cool, I'm not going to let Richie go because he's my biggest threat, and Yates, he was only, 10 seconds, 15 seconds up the road at that point. But when it blew out to a moment where it was like, well, you know what? You're going to lose the race before I do. Like, why wouldn't Del Toro just go, you know what, I've got to commit here? There was so many points where he could have committed.
You know yourself what it's like when you get in that mindset when you're racing, as to like your focus changes, you're not seeing the picture, and it's like, no, you know what, fuck you, I'm going to do this.
But what is the DS's there for? That's your job.
That's what I mean. That's the role of someone who's outside of it, to give that picture, which I think we had. We knew what we were doing, and I don't know what other people were doing on the day. And
I don't think Richard could have done anything else. Like, honestly, opposed to just riding him, like riding Del Toro to the win. Like, it was like, well, dude, I'm not going to ride you to the win. I've already won the Giro before. You're the one who needs to win it.
Richie, when he did put the big move in, he got really close the first time, but he also knew, it's like, I'm not going to take you all the way there and get hit myself.
Yeah.
You're going to do the last bit and I'm going to recover. And Del Toro wouldn't do that. It's like, okay.
All right. Well, then when
it
it
was
comes
really interesting that day because, like, how in the end, shout out to Simon Yates. Like, how good was that? Like, how good is sport? Like 8 years ago on that climb, Chris Froome did the exact
You
same.
picked it in your prediction. I listened to the pod and I heard you call it.
I just wanted to go back and let you guys know that. But no, it was so cool. And then also Jumbo, what a day they had too, tactics wise. Like Van Aert there, Simon had a hell of a day, went across. Like it was like for me, I was goosebumps thinking about it, but like it's just one of the best finishes to a bike race that I can remember ever. So good.
Tour de France, what's Carapaz going to do?
Richie, I mean, we obviously went all in for the GC for the Giro, and that was quite a big project. And the Tour's coming off the back of that, so we're going to have to see how he's recovered well, he's trained well. Going for the GC again is out of our thinking at the moment. If he rides a race like he did last year, then you've got a guy who can really pick off 1-2 stage wins, things like that, and that's massive. You have to look a lot at what's going to be left, which is kind of the more that it pitches up this kind of Visma, the whole of Visma versus Pog GC battle, and then Pog like reasserting his dominance on some days using his team in the mountains. It takes up a lot of opportunities for people. So you have to look at what's, I think those two top steps of the podium are locked-ish down. And that also takes away, like it consumes a lot of the stages, the hard stages, because break formation takes so long, soon becomes a GC race day after day. So finding those days, for Richie is going to be the game.
Roglic coming back. Thoughts? Is he past it? Done. All right. Remco.
He's not past it. He's
done. No, I heard it. You guys, your words. I'm the one bringing him up. Is he past it?
I mean, I think
their team is essentially a Giro skeleton. You got Jai's going back, Danny Martinez. You got Traknik. They got Lipowitz going as well, who's been very impressive. So it's a good team, but is Roglic the leader?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Well, Roglic is the leader, but like Roglic is the leader because he demands the leadership, and I think that's the way he rides. And I think the team actually rides better when they have that focus around Roglic. And then if that's not necessarily the case, then they have had quite a good record of when Roglic is not there anymore or does not perform to that point, they actually go on to win a stage, or you get Pellizzari or you get Lipowitz step up. And I think Lipowitz and Pellizzari don't necessarily want the pressure of, well, I know Lipowitz especially doesn't like the pressure of having that full GC around him. So if it's better that's around Roglic, and if he's not performing, then Lipowitz is there to pick up that. I think that's sort of the way they'll structure it.
I'll be amazed if Roglic comes out of that first 10-day block in shouting distance.
Yeah, Remco.
That
uphill time trial.
I find it.
He'll win a stage. He'll win the TT, and he might even win the up. I don't think he'll win the uphill TT, but I mean he'll win it.
Yellow jersey, I would say. Yellow jersey after the TT. I think
GC.
What about our Aussie, Ben O'Connor, the shift across to Jayco? You said you set him up well at Swiss, but I sort of expected a little bit more after talking to him. I was on the pod last month and thought he would have been a little bit higher at Swiss. Durbo, you couldn't give us any insight? Is it still building to the tour off the altitude block, his first race for a while? Thoughts about him for GC?
I think Swiss, like I said before, there was actually no big mountain passes. And the day we did have one big mountain pass, Ben was actually third on that stage. Obviously, Almeida won alone. Him and Onley came to the line, and Onley beat him jumped him at the finish, and he was third. Then after that was really punchy. Ben is proven GC guy, but has proven that on really, really hard long mountain days, he continually plugs away, really good at high altitude. So I think Swiss in the end was perfect for him because did a big long altitude block, pretty much did all these mountain passes thinking that we're doing Swiss and normal Swiss. And then you go to Swiss and it was just like, 54 Ks an hour average, really punchy. Alaphilippe was right up there, Vauquelin, Gregoire. It was actually just too punchy for him, I think. And then, so he got gapped a lot of the time and then on these really punchy climbs. And then he's pretty much just stayed the same to the finish. So he was ended up 7th on GC. So I think, to be honest, the race itself wasn't leaning towards Ben O'Connor. I think he's in great shape, probably better than what it looks like on pro cycling stats at that end of that stage race. For everything we saw, there was nothing like alarming. And I think we was all positive to come to the tour. So I think, for us, it would be a big objective for Ben to be in that top 5. And I think he can do it. He handles his bike well.
He also gets time from attacking, right? If you look at where he's trying, he gets time from attacking. He did it in Swiss. Like he's got a nose for it, which is interesting.
The Vuelta, He did it as well. When he actually was fourth, breakaway as well.
That day. So yeah, he's got a nose for it. So even if it's like the first 10 days aren't perfect GC wise, his race isn't going to be over ever for a guy like that. No.
And that's really the things we like about him is also that every day he comes in and he is actually looking for the opportunity, looking for when he can go, and he's not afraid to go to lose it. Like he's happy to lay it on the line and go after it. So yeah, I think a top 5 could be good for him. Like I said, it'd probably be coming from like a more opportunity style of racing rather than maybe a 4th best, 5th best climber every day, 5 left, Ben's the last one to get detached. I don't think it's probably going to be like that. It's going to be a bit more like Ben got 10 minutes one day, in a breakaway, and then, you know what I mean? I think that's going to be sort of how it's going to go. But that's sort of how you're going to have to race, as Tom alluded to before, when you've got the big 2 guys with Carapaz as well. Like, Richard could easily be top 10 on GC just by racing the way Tom was explaining,
Couple more honourable mentions just to leave the tour before we move on. It's been a big episode. Van der Poel riding his 5th tour. It'll be my 5th tour, he said. In the first week, there are chances for Jasper Philipsen and me. Hopefully I can win another stage. I'm sure he will. If not that, then the Champs-Élysées will be perfect for him, Durbs. And Van Aert, he's back to his best. I know he's coming in to support there, but it was good to see him back to his best, and I think he'll be moving around again. And look, I was pretty last little honourable mention for me is Alaphilippe. Thought he was moving really well at Tour de Suisse, and given that first 10 days, for me that's got Alaphilippe of old written all over it, and he's looking like Alaphilippe more of old from Tour de Suisse. So I think he could be really good for this Tour de France, boys. Should we get some tactics? It's been a good wrap. Southam, tell us how the Tour de France is going to be run, mate. Let's talk some tactics.
Well, what I wanted to discuss in this episode's Talking Tactics was the effect that the wind might have on the race this year, echelons in the Tour. I think there's like, if you look at the opportunities that another team would have to unseat Pog, if you're going to go hard early, you want to keep as many people as possible for later in the race, obviously to do other things to cause problems, which means you need to do team actions. The obvious one, I mean, stages 1, 2, 3, and 4, there's all open sections, north of France. Will the wind blow? Won't the wind blow? If we go back to, and I was trying to find like examples of, because it's not that often that it actually splits in the Tour with the wind. There's a lot of stress about it. There's a lot of stress. And I think a lot of the times, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Durbo, like the preparedness of the teams, the preparedness of the DSs who are all sat at home like me now, seeing all of where it might happen causes like that big bubble effect, and everybody sits there, which then means that you hit the open sections as a block and you just can't accelerate enough to get the bunch lined out, which means there's very few opportunities for things to happen. The one time it did recently happen, I think it was Ineos split it in 2020, and Pog lost 1 minute 15 that day. We went through a series of 3 or 4 roundabouts, and we had a slight cross tail, and obviously like the speed that we're doing after that is super high, which I think there was another instance in 2019 where we were on the wrong side of it with Rigo. It split. We lost 1.5 minutes on the run in there. But it's infrequent, but the stress of it and the threat of it and the possibility of it are going to define the first 4 days of the tour, definitely. And then Châteauroux, Laval, those stages as well. There's a lot that can happen there, and there's so much to be gained by splitting it as a team and having 4 guys still with you that can then take that down to stage 18, down to, the Pyrenees, the Alps, and so on and so forth. So that has to be a major play for teams that want to do it. So
because if you think about how long, a minute 15, for example, when Poggy lost, I think the year that he won that tour eventually, but he was like alone, young rider jersey. He was like frustrated. But Poggy, even though Poggy does Poggy things, Poggy can't pull back a group of 30 in a crosswind, regardless. Like no one's that strong. So if you think about that,
Fabian's probably the only one.
Maybe. Anyway, but yeah, you know what I mean? Like if you're looking at major gains for a team, Visma, for example, like, okay, we're going to, this day on the crosswinds is more important than a mountain stage for us, because we can actually take, say we take a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It's easily enough on a crosswind stage. If you go to the line, they did it in Paris-Nice also. Split it in the crosswind. They were right in the front. Jorgensen got this huge gap between the other GC guys, and it was done before we even got to the mountains. So
they've actually got the team, Durbo, just to mention that, they've actually got the team. They've got Affini, they've got Benoot, Campenards, and Jorgensen, Van Aert. Like it's actually a more of a roulette sort of team, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You take these big boy crosswind experts. Like I said, it's actually more important than a mountain stage, because if UAE just ride, it doesn't matter. Jonas is in the line. He's either good enough or he's not good enough. But on a crosswind days, these big boys like Affini, like he can potentially win Jonas the Tour de France. It sounds like that, but like you always put down a Sepp Kuss if he's going to be there in the mountains or not. But like Affini or Van Aert could be more of a player, than for Jonas than Sepp Kuss.
And if you're doing the team thing, then Sepp Kuss is probably going to be there, which means that he comes in to play later on, which is what you also. If you think you're going to need numbers later on, the best way to do it is to be moving as a team. How hard that is to do, I don't know. Whether the wind's going to blow, don't know. There's certainly plenty of opportunities. So I think even if it doesn't happen, the defining fatigue as well of the stress of those days, because even if it's 12k an hour, still everyone's going to say, let's be on the right side of it. Let's just make sure the stress of those days, if you're a GC guy, is going to, exactly like you said, Durbs, is going to have an impact when you come to riding up the Hautecam and, whatever else later on. So I think they're going to be like that. The opening, let's say 9 days of the race, because stage 10 is a different case, a different matter, are going to be the thing that eventually decides how the race is won. And it's going to be from start to finish, I would say, those days, like really interesting. You're going to see a lot of probably the bunch on TV riding in a massive block at high speed, which then terminates any chance that any of these small, second division 2-3 rider breaks get, because the speed's so high, you basically can't stay in front of it. And they'll rush in to a certain point. There's quite a few narrower roads in Brittany and Normandy. Again, Bretagne, that's like a proper GC day. circuit there, stuff can happen. So I think those from basically stage, from stage 1 till the last 7Ks to go, stage 21 Durbs.
And the other thing with the wind is, good point there, Tom, is that actually, like you said, the rush, you mentioned the rush and the bubble and the road being blocked, is that once the brake goes off the car, 2 or 3 guys, they get out there. No one actually cares about the breakaway anymore. They're just worried about getting through with their GC guy. So for example, the rush into these towns, the road is blocked, and everyone is, if you're in position in a GC team, you're actually like elbows out, holding the road, establishing your position. You're no longer chasing anymore. So say, for example, you've got a Alpecin potentially not doing any GC and they want to bring it back for the stage. Their workers cannot actually get to the front. They want to work, they want to ride, but they're not allowed to go to the front because they're blocked out. And they might have been riding for a little bit, so they've lost all their punch in their legs, and we all sprint past them into a town to be safe. Road goes completely blocked, which is what happens all the time on the tour. I've done it before. When you're trying to ride, you're trying to bring the race back for this stage to win this stage. And you can't
do your job.
ISMA or UAE because they're just trying to be safe. And you're just like, get out of the way. I'm trying to pull the breakaway back. And they don't care about the breakaway at all. They're just worried about if Poggi or Jonas are in a good position.
But that can also, like it happened at the Dauphiné, I think it was Dauphiné. Yeah, it did. It was Dauphiné where the break came really, really close before the narrow turn onto the climb. Massive rush into the climb. And then the right teams were there and who didn't care about the break. And they stopped. And then it stayed away. So there's actually, like, even if you have 15 seconds in that break,
people
you get that narrow section, and it's long enough, you're still in with the shot.
Definitely.
It's going to be, I mean, I'll make it quick, but it's going to be the defining sort of feature, I would say, of this race. It's up in the north of France. Everybody knows it. It's not been there for a while. It's going to be a big stress.
What did you say about on the Col de Loz? The best rider will win?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
The strongest rider's doing it. The strongest rider's doing it.
Not in the first week.
The strongest team will be doing it.
Yeah.
Doing it.
I don't know if UAE is going to take Vermeersch or Pollitt or something, like people like that. But
Pollitt, I think. Pollitt is on the start list.
I mean, the start lists aren't final yet.
It's locked. I've got the locked-in start list.
Wait till Giannetti hears this podcast and he's like, "Well, hang on a minute. Didn't know it's going to be windy."
The thing is, at the end of the day,
I'll go Almeida.
Crosswind himself, so it really,
Sivakov's in there. Soler, Wellens, Navarez, Novak, and Pollitt. EF are only going with 4 riders. Carapaz, Sweeney, Powless, and Healy.
We're just going to go for the Mountain TT with the Sween Dog, and that's it. We're only sending 4.
Mate, the dog's bloody going, isn't he? Jesus.
Of course he is.
Boys, just quickly, let's do the last bit about the tour before we get into Durbo's quiz. It's been a big one, but it's always going to be a big one in June, these episodes. One rider to watch, boys. Who's going to be at the tour? Tom?
I'm going to go Lipowitz.
Lipowitz, nice. One sentence, why?
Third at Dauphiné, Roglic might just, do a Roglic thing and not be in contention, and opens the door for him. I'm really interested to see if he can take Remco for that third podium spot. I think it's a really interesting battle over a much more mountainous course than Dauphiné.
Big sentence. Lots of commas. Durbo, one rider to watch.
Well, before we actually broke down, I wrote this a while ago, but Carapaz, I'd written him down in the group. I don't know if you see, like a week ago. So I'm going to go Carapaz purely because, fire in the belly after the Giro, what I saw him do last year, 2 stage wins, was 1 or 2? 2. 1. 1. But yeah.
KOM jersey, yeah.
My little KOM jersey, yeah. So, yeah,
nice.
I think he'll just be exciting. You guys rode incredibly to get him into these breakaways last year, I remember, and it's a good guy to watch.
He kept missing the break, didn't he? And they
kept missing it. Yeah.
The whole peloton was like, "He's getting the breakaway."
Just
Let
put
him
him in
go.
there so he can leave us all alone. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Kevin Vauquelin.
Oh, really? That's a surprise. I didn't expect that.
I don't know if you know, he's won a stage in the Tour last year. Great ride at Swiss, and
Hometown.
he's going to be exciting. Hometown, stage 6. So yeah, Kevin. One stage you can't miss, Tom.
I'm going to go with stage 10. It's a really tough stage there around Clermont-Ferrand. It's got a whole heap of second category climbs in it. It's the first day that like a lot of these breakaway guys are going to go for, which means it's going to be absolute carnage. Tough day.
Durbo, one stage you can't miss.
Murder Baton. I just really want to see.
Which stage is it?
Oh shit! I actually don't know. What stage is it on?
Stage 7 or 6 or
6, I think 6.
Actually, that stage they're starting in Kevin Vauquelin's hometown. Stage 6.
Anyway,
he wouldn't be a bad pick for that stage.
It wouldn't be a bad pick, but I reckon it's because it's the only time you get to see a climb that's just short enough that Poggy versus Van Aert versus Van der Poel versus Vauquelin, Gregoire. It's just like it's a really cool, iconic, kind of like an Amstel Gold classic finish. When Gilbert used to go up there, like sort of like a classic rider versus a climber, and yeah. It's always incredible to see how far. And the run you run into it, you sort of run into it, you come in straight, and you just go straight up into this iconic climb that they've done on the tour for generations. So, be good to watch.
Nice. I'm going to go with the Queen stage, stage 18, the Col de Loz. We've already spoken about that, so do not miss that one. 5,800 meters of climbing. Durbo, you're going to be loving that one. One thing you're most excited about the tour, Southam, what is it?
Well, what I'm most excited about the tour. I'm just going to go with the Champs-Élysées stage 21. Such a good route revamp. I'm so glad I don't have to watch these guys drinking champagne, enjoying their life anymore.
Beautiful.
That and Kevin Vauquelin riding out of his hometown towards Murder Britain. That's
it. Nice. Durbo?
I'm going to go with, if I get selected, finishing. It's one of those things I'm looking forward to.
Perfect. Up that climb. Get up there the last time into the Champs-Élysées, 7K to go. I love it.
Time cut, 7K to go.
I'm loving my thing I'm most...
You know what the time cut is? I had a little look. I did a preview of what it might be for that. Hang on, give me a sec. I've got it somewhere.
Okay, while you're looking it up, my favourite thing is going to be seeing a good old-fashioned battle royale again. I grew up watching Lance and Jan battle, and I'm loving the Pog Jonas battle. That is back on. So hoping Jonas can come up a notch and we can see a full-on battle royale. Southern, what's the time cut?
Between 14 to 12 minutes, Durbs. Slowest and fastest schedule. It's not much at all. It's short stage, and it's number. It's what's it called? Category 1. So
you get hooked on the first time out.
Do not.
They're not going to cut anyone.
They would.
I'm going to be there in making sure that rule is enforced at the end. Don't you worry.
Durbo, have you got a quiz for us?
I do.
The two quiz masters already. Here we go. Let's do it.
Short one, 7 questions, Tour de France related. Okay, rapid fire. Now, I'll tell you beforehand if we've got A, B, and C, or it's just first to guess it, because some of them are easy and just going to be real rapid. Okay?
Right, let's do it.
So first one's an A, B, and C, so don't answer until I've given you the A, B, and C. How many... can you guys shut all your windows about Tour de France? Got to shut them all down. Mitch, I know you've got one there.
I don't have any windows. All that stuff I've said is off the top of my head.
I haven't got a computer.
All right. How many kilometres do the cyclists ride from start to finish at this year's Tour de France? Okay. We've got A, 3,320 kilometres. B, 3,338, kilometers, and C, 3,450 kilometers.
C.
B.
Southam, 1 point. 3,338 kilometers.
Oh,
right.
God.
That's
My
like 1
research
point.
was wrong.
This is just a straight up, when you know the answer, yell it out. Right? Who does the race red Skoda Superb belong to?
You mean Christian Prudhomme?
There you go.
But there's so many of those red ones.
Yeah, but
The main
it's
one.
the
You
only,
don't know
it's the
what
only
we're
red
talking
one.
about Prudhomme's.
The race director.
Righto,
Okay.
righto.
Tour de France
Does
traditionally.
is that
It's
his
personal
car?
It's his personal car. Yeah, he drives it. Yeah.
He drives it in
Season,
traffic in Paris. His wife drives and he stands out the roof doing this.
There's a car seat in there. It's all crunched chips and everything. Hasn't cleaned it.
It's just feet marks on the middle of the rear seat. Mud from his feet. All right.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
All right. Well, Mitch actually already answered this question before, so you guys should know it. And this is just jump in straight away. So Tom's got 2 points. This year's Tour de France, they traditionally take detours in other countries. Will we leave France this year?
No.
Give it to Mitch because you already got 2 points.
I said it first anyway.
Well, because you said it earlier in the show. You can't count that.
No, I said it then and earlier. So
didn't.
that's 2 points. It's 2-2.
The record will show 2-2. The record's
It's
going to show
1-2. It's 1-2. There's only been three questions.
3-0. But anyway,
This is A, B, and C. All right, we're going to quick wrap this up. Come on. Quick rapid fire. This is A, B, and C. So after I've done it, how many years has Skoda sponsored the Tour de France? A, 22. B, 15. C, 10.
A.
I'm going to go
Tom.
with B.
Tom got it. 3. 3 points to 1. All right. How many? This is also A, B, and C. How many times has Jonas finished second to Pogacar in all races? So since they've been racing together, how many races has Poggy won, Jonas second?
Junior races as well, or
Lavinier, under 23,
as well.
But that didn't happen. Just to let you know, they didn't go 1-2 in Lavinier. All right, so we've got A, 15, C, 17.
What happened to B?
Oh no, sorry, B 17, and then C 19.
I'm going to go with C, 19.
B.
Tom,
B.
Mitch, 19 times they've gone first and second.
I thought it was 18 or 19.
Highest rivalry out of any rivalry in cycling.
Wow. Good question.
Like even like the Vlaming, Merckx, and you name it. Van der Poel, Wout van Aert, like
it's more than that.
Cyclocross, but it's definitely
more than Lance Yarn.
Yep.
I guess they only race the Tour, really.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like that's a lot of times, 19 times.
What about
Anyway.
Gregoire and Vauquelin?
Cycling's greatest rivalry.
Mitch Docker and Casey Munro or something like that. Okay. Here we have how many wins has Quickstep got since inauguration? Now, this is A, B, and C. Since they started the team, how many wins have they had? Now, the other day, it's a bit of a giveaway at the Dauphiné. They had shirts made up about it.
But it's more than that now.
Just it's A, B, and C. Answer the question. I'm not really going to do it. All right. So, is it A, 1,000? B, 1,002? Or C, 1,003?
B.
I'm just going to go with C because I know it's not 1,000.
1,003. So
yes, sucked it.
Magnier won the 2 Belgium races, and Merlier won in Belgium.
No, Merlier won 2.
Oh, it's changed because when I did this quiz, it's 10,004. So no one gets to go.
But no, I got the quiz question right. That's all that was presented.
That's true. That's true. I mean, it's just current. Like I had to update. I did it like 2 days ago. Anyway,
who was second to Stevie Williams at the Flèche Wallonne last year?
All right, this is a jump. I think this should be a jump in question. Just throw out your number straight away because you should know it. How many mountain stages at this year's Tour de France?
6.
4.
Docker, well done. 6. Have we got a points update here? I'm pretty sure Tom's still winning.
4-3 to me, I think.
Okay, Tom's got 4. Mitch's got 3. All right, final question. So we got the most Tour de France stage wins. Obviously, we know that's Mark Cavendish. Who is third?
Chippo.
Pog?
No. All right, I'm going to have to do a little who am I?
Oh, is it
he's
an
French.
old one?
He's French.
Oh, is it?
He's won the Tour.
Bernardino? The Badger.
No, I don't have another one. Get
me on the old stuff. Southam's got no idea about the old stuff. He just needs the current day stuff.
Current draw at the moment. I mean, you guys might have to shake hands and that might be it. Well done, boys. 2 quiz masters. Can't define them.
There it is, yeah. Look at my hand. Copped the ball in the finger last night. Keeping wicket. Can't see it. Not a nice one. That one.
Nasty.
Lucky you put the old keeping wicket at the end of that.
Yeah.
All right.
Pop the ball in the old finger.
There's CommuniQuiz for the week. Yeah. That's been a good one, boys.
It's been a great one. A big thanks to our major partners in the podcast, MAAP, of course, and our partner here, TrainingPeaks. Has been great analysing the data with you, Durbo. Boys, Southam, if you're off to the tour, Durbo, if you find out in the next few days, I'll raise a glass to you.
Hopefully see you there, Durbo.
Yeah.
Hope to.
Enjoy stage 18, but more specifically, enjoy that climb on the Champs.
Thank you.
See you, boys.
Guys.
That iconic music in this episode was composed by none other than the legend Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.